This is Cashing Out on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Oh, baby, welcome into a new hour. Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo, taking you through the late hours of your Monday into your Tuesday morning. It's Final Four week. More on that as the hour progresses. We've got some great guests coming up this hour. Our friend Mike Holland, college hoops analyst, drroto.com, going to join the show. Jonathan Davis, VSiN's hockey expert, going to join us later on this hour. We're going to take it to the diamond because this was as good a Monday in baseball as you could possibly ask for. 14 games. Games starting as early as 10, 11 a.m. Pacific time, going right up until a jam-packed late window with games at Dodger Stadium, Petco Park, Seattle, Sacramento for the Athletics Cubs. I mean, you got a good 12 hours of baseball on a Monday. That never happens. That's the schedule intricacies of opening week, I suppose. Things always get a little different. I mean, when do you have a Monday where there's 14 games? We had a perfect 3-0 day, and as the clock hits midnight on the East Coast and we enter in April, we could not have ended March better. 3-0 on the diamond. Phillies run line, Mets first 5 run line, Alonso home run, did a half a unit on it, plus 390. 3-0 day, 3.95 units because of the Alonso half unit play. Here's where we're at as March concludes. Best month of my life gambling. First 20-unit month of my life. March. And this is the Google sheet. All my bets available. I tweet it out often. The link to it at @TheJoeCeraulo on Twitter. By the way, tweet at @TheJoeCeraulo. Get involved with the show. Best tweets get read on air. The month of March, 72 and 51, 20.35 units. Best month of my life unit-wise. Percentage-wise, I don't know. 7 out of 12 on average, I guess. I don't know what 57-ish percent, 58%. But unit-wise, first 20-unit month of my life. March was good to us. Also, I think the first month of my life where I placed 120 bets in a single month. Maybe got to rein it in a little bit in April. But hey, we had March Madness, right? So hell of a month as March concludes. Hell of an MLB Monday. One of the, I believe, only 2 teams off on Monday. The New York Yankees. How about what the Yankees are doing with these torpedo bats? You know, something about this situation, and I'm not going to sit here and say cheating. I'm not going to say the C word. Few C words I like. Not going to say the C word. But it's a little wild to me that this hasn't been done before, and now all of a sudden it's on the scene. It's like either everyone's going to be doing this in 3 weeks' time, or it's going to be banned in 3 weeks' time. It feels like there is no in between here. It's one or the other. Either every team's going to adopt it or it's going to be gone. How about the Yankees that are using the torpedo bat? As you see on your screen here, for those of you watching the program, YouTube TV, VSiN Watch app, Yankees put up 36 runs in their sweep over the Brewers, including a 20 spot. The Yankees using the torpedo bat. Bellinger, Jazz Chisholm, Goldie, who by the way hit leadoff the other day. Never thought I'd see that. Anthony Volpe, Austin Wells. Those 5 cats combined to go 18 of 56, 9 homers, 21 RBI. Now, Judge is not using the torpedo bat. He's off to a 6 for 11 start to the year with 4 homers. I mean, the guy's got 11 RBI in 3 games. What are we doing here? Do we just give him the MVP now? MLB has ruled torpedo bats do not violate MLB rules or bat supplier regulations. Now, look. I'm going to say the same thing I said about Barry Bonds and A-Rod and the steroid. You still got to make contact with the ball. And I believe it was VSiN's own Keith Irizarry, who I love. Keith's one of the nicest human beings you'll ever meet. I used to do work with Keith on MLB Network before either of us were at VSiN. And Keith said it best. There's no magnet in the bat, right? That's what I always said about Barry Bonds. Like, you still got to hit the damn ball. And the hardest thing to do in all of sports is hit a round ball with a round bat in less than a second of reaction time. So you still got to do the work. Now, why this hasn't been done before, I don't know. It was like an idea George Costanza came up with. Putting more wood in the middle of the bat. Crazy to me. that it hasn't been done, that it's this brand new thing on the scene. Like I said, it feels like it's either going to be banned or everyone's going to be doing it in 3 weeks. MLB saying it doesn't violate rules, doesn't violate regulations, then I'm leaning more towards everyone's going to be doing it in 3 weeks. Now, let's also, the reason I say 3 weeks and not tomorrow, let's see if the Yankees offense doesn't fall off a cliff here. Maybe the Brewers just suck, right? What did I say about the Brewers coming into the season? Based on their win total, they're slated for second place in the Central. I said this is a team that can finish anywhere from fourth to first. Would I be shocked if they won 87 games and won that division? Seems like a weak division. No. Would I be shocked if they won 77 and came in fourth? Absolutely not. Their pitching's a big concern. I mean, I can't be the only one who's concerned about Nestor Cortez, right? The guy stinks. Gave up 3 home runs on 3 pitches Saturday. Unbelievable stuff to start the game. History, literally, historic stuff. Let's hear from one of the newer Yankees, Jazz Chisholm, last year's midseason acquisition, on these torpedo bats.
Oh, I love my bat. You know what I mean? I think you could tell. It's working pretty well for me, but I mean, it doesn't feel like a different bat. It just helps you in a little way, I guess.
When did it get on your radar?
I started using it the last week and a half of spring, I think. And I mean, I just never looked back after that. I mean, it still felt like my bat. It feels good. Hit the ball off the barrel. Feel comfortable in the box. You know. I don't know what else to tell you. I don't know the science of it. I just play baseball. You know what I'm saying?
I like Jazz. Jazz is fun. He's good for the Yankees. I'll tell you what. Look, you folks know, not a Yankee guy. Love my Mets. If there's one team, if there's one sport, I'm still a little biased with, that I wouldn't say I'm biased, not from a betting angle, but where I certainly still have my fandom, it's with my Mets. I've lost it a bit with the Giants over the years. The Knicks, yeah, you know, I like the Knicks. I root for the Knicks. But if there's one team I love, if there is one team that I pledge allegiance to, if you will, it is the Mets. Not a Yankee guy. That said, I think Jazz Chisholm's great for the Yankees. The Yankees need fun. They've been so anti-fun for so long. Having Chisholm out there, his personality, I think that's great. I think it's fantastic. Only thing I'm disappointed with, they lifted the facial hair rule. I would have liked to see a little more facial hair out of Jazz. Where's the goatee? Where's the beard? Come on, Jazz. Little flair, little excitement. Guy's always got funky cleats. He's got the torpedo bat. Jazz Chisholm, good for the Yankees, good for baseball. These torpedo bats, I'm going to be really intrigued by the end of April, maybe even the halfway point. I'm going to be really intrigued to see how many teams adopt them. The Boston Red Sox lost again on Monday. How about it? 1-4 to start the season as the Orioles take them down 8-5. It was Newcomb, former Brave, on the bump for Boston. And this is a team that had really deep starting pitching on paper coming into the year. They've seen some guys go down in the spring, right? Giolito, Crawford. Bayo, not with the team yet, right? They had Crochet and Houck at the top. And then they're turned into, who was the game 3 starter? I'm blanking for the Red Sox. They had, I believe it was obviously Crochet opening day, and then Houck. They had that Richard Fitz kid. Walker Buehler, game 3, got the loss. So they go Crochet, Houck, Buehler, and then you think after them that they're going to have Crawford, they're going to have Giolito, they've got that Quinn Priester kid from Pittsburgh. All 3 of those guys not with the team. We've got Newcomb going game 5, had Dick Fitz going game 4. Geez, not a great start for the Sox, just 1-4. Rafi Devers, 0 for 3, 3 strikeouts. He is having a start to the season from absolute hell. 5 games. He's 0 for 19 with 15 strikeouts. I think I could do better. Maybe I'd go 0 for 19. After all, I was a pitcher. Gave up hitting. I had a couple hits in college. 10 at-bats, had a couple hits. But was not a two-way player. I would say 0 for 19, I could at least have less than 15 strikeouts, even if I went 0 for 19. I mean, this is as bad as it gets. Not the Jack Nicholson movie, as good as it gets. This is as bad as it gets for Rafi Devers and the Sox. And he's got the protection of Alex Bregman behind him. This is, the guy needs to go on the IL. He's got like the yips. Usually the yips refers to something, you can't throw the ball. He's got the yips at the dish. 15 Ks, 0 for 19. Put him on the IL under psychiatric evaluation for 10 days. My goodness. Meanwhile, Tyler O'Neill just continues to mash. Former Red Sox went 4 for 4 against his old team. Knocked in a run, scored 2. He's hitting .571 to start the season. And here I was worried about the Orioles. They lose Santander. I didn't think O'Neill was a sufficient replacement. Well, they don't even have Gunnar Henderson yet. They're scoring runs left and right. They're 3-2 to start the year. Cade Povich, 4 1/3, 3 earned, 8 Ks. Jesus, 13 outs, 8 of them via the strikeout. The Red Sox in a rough position now, but hey, they did sign Garrett Crochet. 6 years, $170 million. How about it? Just shy of $30 million a year for the young lefty. That happened right before the show. So Garrett Crochet, 1 start as a Red Sox. I guess they said, wow, shoot, we're 1 turn through the rotation. The only game we won, Crochet pitched. Let's lock him up. 6 years, $170 for Garrett Crochet to be up in Beantown for a while. Folks, take your betting to the next level with our friends over at FirstBet. Whether it's Santa Anita, Gulfstream Park, or the road to the Kentucky Derby, FirstBet puts the action right at your fingertips. Sign up now, firstbet.com. That's the number 1, STBet.com. Use the promo code VSiN200. You'll score a 20% rebate on all your wagers for the first 60 days, up to $200. Don't miss out. Bet smarter today at firstbet.com. Going to dive into the Final Four and a little bit of the Crown Basketball Classic up next with our friend Mike Holland from drroto.com. Don't miss it. Cashing out with Joe Ceraulo right here on VSiN.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Cashing Out continues here on VSiN with me, Joe Ceraulo, taking you through the late hours of your Monday night into Tuesday morning here on the program. It's Final Four week. Gators, Tigers, Florida Auburn on one side, Houston Duke on the other. Let's keep breaking it down. Who better to welcome in via the progressive guest line than our friend, college hoops analyst from drroto.com, Mike Holland, joining the show now. Mike, how are you? Did you enjoy the weekend we just had, Sweet 16, Elite 8? What was your biggest takeaway from the games we just watched over the weekend, my friend?
Hey, I'm doing great. Appreciate you having me on. I did enjoy the weekend. I know some people are a little upset that this tournament has been really chalky, but I believe we got the 4 best teams that we've had in quite some time. When you look at the analytics, these are the 4 best teams. So I'm excited to get it rocking and rolling for this weekend here in San Antonio.
Yeah, I'm a little bummed. We didn't get there with our Sparty Final Four ticket. Had them 5-1 to come out of the South region. And man, I thought that game was there for the taking. Auburn did not shoot the ball well. Outside of Janai Broome, no one really impressed me all that much with the Tigers. They look like a team, and this was my handicap on them going into the tournament, that lives and dies by Janai Broome. That the entirety of their success goes through that one man. We've seen other games, Denver Jones step up. I love Tahad Pettiford, but no one outside of Broome really stepped up against Sparty. They're going to need more of a collective effort against the Gators. Which side are you on in that game?
I'm on the Florida side. Last time I was on with you, I was all over Florida for the SEC tournament, and I think they're still the team to beat in this one. Like, this team is clicking on all cylinders. Walter Clayton is playing out of his mind. They got the bodies to throw at Janai Broome. They've got 4 really good front court players that they can throw at him. So some of these other guys are going to have to make shots, and they didn't in that first meeting. Florida won that matchup on the road, 90-81, shot 39% from 3. Auburn shot 31% from 3. So I think, that's going to be a key in this game. Both teams are top 10 in the country in shutting down the opposing 3 ball. Whoever can shrink that margin, I think, is going to have success, and I think that's going to be the Florida side.
Yeah, and Auburn did not shoot the three impressively against Sparty. Just 7 of 23? I mean, their shooting as a whole, they were 42% from the floor, 7 of 23 from three. That was a game that was there for the taking, but Michigan State was just chucking up brick after brick, refused to take a game that I felt like Auburn was trying to hand them. I'm with you 1,000%. Even though the Gators have now survived their second scare of the tournament, I think laying 2.5 with them is undoubtedly the right side here. Any interest in that total? Hovering around 160, 160.5. Maybe not a best bet, but any lean there with the total?
Yeah, I lean the over here. I mean, we saw this matchup the first time, get up over 170. So, yeah, I definitely think this is a game that can get up and down. Auburn will run with Florida if Florida dictates the pace here. I think the turnover battle is going to be critical here. If there's a lot of turnovers in this game, live ball turnovers, that's going to help the over. I think we could see that. We've seen some pretty frenetic, games in the tournament where teams just going up and down a little bit out of control. So if that's the type of game that it is, I do lean the over here.
Yeah, it's wild to me how Florida has really lived right around their total seemingly every game this tournament. That UConn game goes over on the meaningless buzzer beater that McNeely hit. Then the Maryland game, I got 158. I took the under, end up getting a push there. But all the other numbers, I mean, it went over in the final seconds. A lot of 157, 157.5s out there. Florida's been hovering right around that number the entire tournament, it feels like. How about the total? I think this is going to be a more played total, more invested in total. In Houston, Duke, 136.5. What are your thoughts on that?
So, with Houston, there's not going to be a lot of possessions in these games. They're a great defense. They run the shot clock down. Duke don't want to run. They will run with you, but obviously with Houston being on the other side, this is going to be a very, very slow game. I think we see Houston essentially try to exploit, some type of advantage with some of their smaller guards. Duke is a really, really big team, number one in height. We've heard basically all tournament about 6'5" plus in the starting lineup, but the quickness with Houston's guards, I think, could cause a little bit of a problem. I don't think there are going to be enough possessions for it to reach 136.5. Both teams defend the three really, really well. So I think I'm on the under here.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you. The two bets, I've already given out and I've already placed for the Final Four. Under 136.5, Houston, Duke, Florida, -2.5. So we are in perfect lockstep, my friend. Now I'm leaning taking the points with the Cougars. And a lot of our handicap on the under and the lack of possessions would, kind of correlate to that. I'm waiting for a better number. I want to take 6 with Houston if that pops up. We're already seeing some 5s and a stray 5.5 or 2. What are your thoughts on the side in this one?
Yeah, I like the Houston points here. Look, Duke playing in the ACC, they have not been challenged like a defense with Houston. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Houston offensively does give me some worry. They're not great underneath the basket. They're 282nd in 2-point percentage. They don't get to the free throw line a lot. They really rely on opening 3-point shots for them. So, yeah, I mean, for me, it's a little nervous taking the Houston points here because we've seen what Duke's done to their opponents. But I think when you look on the defensive end, I think Houston's going to be able to to throw some bodies at Cooper Flag and make things uncomfortable on the defensive end.
I love it, Mike. We're in sync with our picks here. Mike Holland with us on the Progressive Guest Line. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at MCHolland34, college hoops analyst over at drroto.com. How about the college basketball crown? It's officially underway, not without drama. Games have been pulled off the board in some states. Bets have been voided in some states. In some cases, after the conclusion of the game, there is drama, as there always is with any event in Las Vegas. You've got a couple plays for the Tuesday slate. Central Florida, Oregon State. What do you like there?
Yeah, I do like Central Florida to cover 4.5 here. Both teams have players in the transfer portal, but if you watch the games today, there are players that are playing that are in the transfer portal actively. So, with Oregon State, though, Michael Ratai is not going to be playing. He just committed to Baylor tonight. They also have Nate Kings and Parsa Falah, who were starters for them. I don't believe they're going to be playing in this game as well. For UCF, they're going to be down Keyshawn Hall, who's a premier scorer and one of the top players in the portal. But Coach Dawkins already said that Machowski, Taylor, those guys are in the portal. They're going to play. I think when you look at the core of UCF, they're going to be back. Ivy Sellers, Mustafa Chim, Darius Johnson. These are really, really good players from the Big 12. I think they're going to have enough for Oregon State here to cover the 4.5. When you look at the Cincinnati side, 9.5 over DePaul, I think I really like for them to cover that. DePaul's a team that really turns the ball over. Cincinnati generates a lot of turnovers, and we're not hearing much from the Cincinnati side as far as players being opted out of this one. So it'll be something to look for and something we need to pay attention to. So I won't be betting these until closer to tip time.
Yeah, last time I watched Cincinnati basketball, I took the points with the Cowboys opening round of the Big 12 tournament. Cincinnati turned them over left and right, ran away with that game. I was on the wrong side there. So Cincinnati, even though they had a very disappointing season, might still be a class above this DePaul Blue Demons team that they'll be squaring off with in the CBC. Look, I have to admit, I know that this event is here in Las Vegas, and I know it's a first-year new event, and it's power conferences and all that hoopla. I'm more invested in the NIT. And I'm really into this NIT semifinal. Mike, are you into Tuesday's games at all? Do you have any interest? Do you have any action in the NIT games on Tuesday? UC Irvine, North Texas, and then Loyola Chicago versus Chattanooga? I
actually like Chattanooga in this one, straight up. I really, really like their backcourt. Trey Bonham, Honor Huff. I think they're going to get it done here. So I also like this game to go over the 148.5. So I'm leaning on betting that as well, but I definitely like Chattanooga straight up here.
Amazing. Two guests, back-to-back guests we've had on picking Chattanooga while I'm sitting here on the Loyola Chicago side of things. Little friendly competition. It'll be fun. Mike, really appreciate the time, man. Thanks so much for hopping on.
Appreciate it. Have a good one.
Our friend Mike Holland, college hoops analyst, drroto.com. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at mcholland34. I can't wait for this Final Four this weekend, folks. And we're going to break it down more in a couple short minutes. Obviously, yesterday's show is the Elite Eight wrapped up, and we hit the airwaves just minutes after the Michigan State-Auburn game conclusion. We were all over the early storylines, but I can't wait for Bruce Pearl and Todd Golden to go head-to-head. I compared the prospect of a Golden-Patino Elite Eight matchup to a Belichick-McVay Super Bowl, right? The professor, the pupil. Bruce Pearl actually hired Todd Golden to run his basketball operations about a decade or so ago, maybe even a little longer. So these are two guys that have actually worked together. Golden was quite literally a kid. I mean, now he's only in his 40s, working under Pearl. And now they're going head-to-head, Final Four, same conference, representing the conference where, folks, it just means more. And they'll remind you of that every single chance they get. Look, Bruce Pearl's been at this a long time. I have a ton of respect for Bruce Pearl as a basketball coach. I just think Todd Golden's got the better team. I think Pearl's done a phenomenal job with this Auburn team. But if Janai Broome gets neutralized, and it's a big if, because he's as good as anyone in the country. If he gets neutralized, I don't think Auburn has the cats behind him to step up. More cashing out with Joe Ceraulo up next.
To Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Cashing Out continues with me, Joe Ceraulo, taking you through the late hours of your Monday into your Tuesday morning here on the program. It's day one of the first CBC Crown Basketball Challenge being played right here in Las Vegas. 4 games Monday, 4 games Tuesday for the opening round. And not to be had without drama. How about the, actually a few different aspects of this tournament have faced some drama. There was the big betting issue that arose where some states made like DraftKings, MGM, some of the shops take the games off the board because they said this isn't a sanctioned, regulated event because it's not an NCAA event. Bizarre. And then you've got other drama, like this Georgetown, Washington State situation, where our incredible AP Corey York so astutely pointed out to me, I must have missed this as I was commuting into work, that there was some last-minute line movement. Georgetown opened laying 3.5. Now at DraftKings, they closed laying 2.5. at almost every other shop in town, they closed catching 2 to 2.5. And Corey pointed out in that one regarding that the reason for it is because Georgetown made public right before game time that there was a health incident going around. They just referred to it as a health incident, didn't really give more details, that their players were experiencing a team-wide health issue, and they would have a limited roster. So this line moves from at open, the Hoyas laying 3.5, Ed Cooley's squad, to catching 2 to 2.5 at some spots here in town. Utah Butler, the first game, Butler goes off as a dog, closes 3.5. They win it outright. Boise runs GW out of the gym, covering the 8.5 number they were laying. And Arizona State, Nebraska, the Sun Devils blow a chance to cover in the closing seconds. They were down 6, decided to play the foul game, even though the game was pretty much over, and end up losing by 8. How about Boise with a 30-point win over GW? Washington State and Georgetown, Cougars lead it 55-49 over the Hoyas with just under 14 minutes to go in that contest. No action from me on the CBC, just too many variables with all the transfer portal action, and I've been so locked into March Madness and a decent fair amount into the NIT that, I wasn't keeping track of who was still on DePaul's roster or UCF's roster. It's why we bring in other minds to break these games down with the transfer portal movement and action and coaches. I mean, who the hell's coaching Villanova? They're going to have an interim coach, although I will say, guests gave out that pick already. I do like Villanova in that spot against Colorado. Regardless of the coaching situation, I think that they're a more talented team, and I think that you're going to have that variable of kids trying to play to stay on the roster, because now that's a thing in college. Now you got a new coach with NIL and everything. It's like you have to prove yourself, even though you're already there. You have to prove yourself to the new coach that he should keep you on the roster. So there are some angles I like, but overall, just too many variables with these incomplete rosters for me to want to invest in it. I'm more into the NIT, which still, it's become more of a mid-major tournament now that the CBC is scooping up a lot of these power conference teams. But the NIT, I think, means something to these mid-major schools. The North Texases, the UC Irvines, the Loyola Chicagos, the Chattanoogas. And that's where I'm going to go with my action on Tuesday. I laid 2.5 with Loyola Chicago. My best bet for Tuesday's action. North Texas laying 1 1/2 against UC Irvine. Practically a pick'em. I struggle to get there on this. These are two really good teams. And they're two teams that play defense well. North Texas, one of the slowest paces in the entire nation. One of the best defensive teams in the country. UC Irvine, for a mid-major, has great size. We had Father Knows Bets earlier. My father, George Ceraulo, came on the program. And I thought he said it best. Both of those teams could have earned a spot in March Madness, should have been in March Madness. I'd have rathered see, and I said this before the tournament, I'd have preferred two Big West teams, UC Irvine and UC San Diego, over the 13th and 14th SEC teams that cracked the field. I mean, give me a break. We didn't need Oklahoma and Texas to go out there just to show the whole country how they can crap the bed in the opening round or in their opening game. UC Irvine, just like UC San Diego did against Michigan, they didn't get there with the win. Maybe the Stripes had a little something to do with that late. San Diego, obviously slow first half, but second half dominated the Wolverines. UC Irvine would have put up a better fight like UC San Diego did in their 5-12 game. North Texas, the way that they play defense, I think would have put up a good fight. Went on the road to a power conference team, albeit Oklahoma State, but still a true road game there, and walked out of Stillwater victorious. I like this North Texas team a lot. Love the way that they defend. I think that they would have been a really tricky team, like a Drake-style team in the NCAA tournament in the opening round. Chattanooga, Loyola Chicago, can't make a case for either one of them to have cracked the field. Loyola Chicago, if I'm not mistaken, gave VCU a fit in the A-10 semis, and then Ultimately, VCU pulled away late, 62-55. I believe that was about a 2-point game with like 3 minutes to go before the Rams pulled away in that semifinal contest. But can't really make a case for Chattanooga or Loyola. North Texas, UC Irvine, definitely. The fact that the American was a one-bid conference, UAB and North Texas, I would have rather see either one of those two than Texas in the NCAA tournament, than San Diego State. Give me a break. UAB, by the way, lost in overtime at UC Irvine. UAB, who gave Memphis a fight in the American Conference Championship game. NIT basketball. Good basketball. Excited for that. Excited for the Final Four. And folks, the tournament may be winding down, but the betting action never stops here at VSiN. Major League Baseball is back. The NBA and NHL playoffs are right around the corner. It's Final Four week. The Masters and the NFL Draft are just minutes away. So stay ahead of every opportunity with a VSiN Pro subscription for just $9.99. You'll get daily best bets from VSiN hosts and guests, exclusive betting splits from DraftKings and Circa, 24/7 video access on the VSiN Watch app, plus our MLB season betting guide, and hell, even the upcoming Kentucky Derby betting guide. No matter the sport, VSiN Pro's got you covered. Sign up now, vsin.com/subscribe for just $9.99. That's vsin.com/subscribe. Can't beat that price for your first month. Auburn, Florida, coming up. Touched on it briefly. Last segment, said we'd circle back. Gators laying 2.5 across the board. There's a stray 3 out there, but 2.5 everywhere else. I love it. I love that number. It almost feels a little trappy, because I love that number so much. But I think the Gators are the superior team. And I emphasize team because Johni Broome is a beast. And so much of Auburn's success goes right through Broome. But after him, if the Gators are able to somewhat neutralize him, and I don't mean shut him down completely. I mean just don't let him go for 25 and 15 like Sparty did practically. If you let Broome go for a modest, 13 and 10, well, someone else from Auburn's going to have to step up if they want to win that game. And I don't know if anyone else from Auburn is capable of stepping up against a top-tier opponent like Todd Golden's Gators. I think this Florida team's deeper. I think this Florida team is more well-rounded. I think this Florida team is going to win the game, probably going to win it all. Talked about it on yesterday's episode, You make that first bracket, at least I do. Immediately when the bracket comes out, 30 seconds later, waste no time, make that initial bracket, right? I did that. I had 3 1s and a 2. Usually people do that. They have 4 1s. I had Sparty, Florida, Duke, Houston. Then I said, all right, 3 1s, it's a little too. I'm over here. Some people had all 4 1s, and yeah, this year you were right. Pat yourselves on the back, you chalk monsters. I didn't like having 3 1s. I never like having more than 2 1s in my Final Four. I thought 3 1s was too chalky. So who did I replace? The team that I actually had winning it all in my initial run through, Florida. Replace them with St. John's. So they're going to run into that Red Storm defense. They're going to go down in the Elite Eight. Golden's too young. Every coach who wins it has to have been to at least the Sweet 16. Only 2 exceptions last 25 years. Kevin Ollie, Dan Hurley, both UConn. I said, let me take Florida out. Stupid move by me. This team's deep. How about the game Thomas Hoff had off the bench? 20 points for him, 11 boards against the Red Raiders, Texas Tech team that has been so consistently phenomenal on the glass. Florida outboards them 42-35. You outboard Auburn, which, by the way, I think Sparty did, but they just couldn't hit a shot. You outboard Auburn, you're in a good position there. Gators had 11 offensive boards in that game. Got to neutralize Broome down low. Let the guards play. They have such better guard play than Auburn, and that's why I'm laying 2.5 with Florida. More well-rounded. They've got the defenders to slow Broome down, and they've got better guards on the Gators. Going to hit the ice up next. Jonathan Davis joins us, cashing out with Joe Ceraulo.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Cashing Out continues here on VSiN with me, Joe Ceraulo, and I'm excited to take it to the ice, something I feel like we haven't done in a while on this program with all the March Madness that we've been going through, plus the opening to the MLB season. But the NHL playoffs just a couple weeks away. Let's dive into this hockey betting market. We've got a jam-packed Tuesday slate to go over. Who better to break it down with us on the Progressive Guest Line than VSiN's own NHL expert, Jonathan Davis, with us now. Jonathan, how are you, my friend? How have the last couple of weeks of hockey betting gone for you?
The last couple of weeks have gone really well. Tonight, as I was saying to you off the air, not so good, but it humbles us in this business, and you just got to keep grinding away when you're doing this on a daily basis.
Well, you know what that means, my man. And some people are going to cringe when I say this. I know that the old sharps, that they're going to hate me saying this, but this is that new, younger generation of betting. All that a rough Monday night means is that come Tuesday, you are due, Jonathan. So let's get a couple of winners going. Start us off, though, with this Alex Ovechkin goal chase as he chases Gretzky here. He's looking for his 895th. The odds are up there for the team that it happens against. What do you think about this market? Columbus, plus 145. The Isles, plus 230. Penguins, 4-1, and so on.
Yeah, I think the better way to approach it, Joe, is not to target. If you like, let's say you like Columbus for it, I think you've got a better shot at, you're going to get a better price if you target one of their two goalies. So Columbus, depending on where you're shopping, get them to plus 280. But if you target one of their two goalies, like Daniel Tarasov, who is at 9-1 for Ovi to score on, or Elvis Merzlikins, who is their number one goalie, who has actually an 11-1. But Merzlikins has yet to play against Ovechkin this year. Twice he has been dressed for the game and served as the backup. So the odds are far better if you're going to target a team's goalies as opposed to the team.
Wow, that is a really interesting market. The fact that it's even posted as to who the goalie who gives it up will be is bizarre. And yeah, if you go even a half a unit on each of those two guys, as opposed to going a full unit on this, astronomically better value. Next up for Ovi, he's taking on Boston on Tuesday. Anything here in this game that stands out to you? Anything you like?
Well, I mean, look, typically with Ovi, I play him to score a goal. That one's at about even money. You get Ovi, you target him to score a goal in the third period. You can get that at about 4-1. And then I haven't seen odds posted yet for the last goal, that he scores the last goal of the game. That's usually around 7-1 when the Washington Capitals are the favorite. I mean, look, Boston is a team that has been struggling big time of late. They pretty much packed it into for the season. They're the 25th ranked defense in the NHL. I mean, when you take a look at this week for Alexander Ovechkin, he gets the Bruins, who are ranked 25th. Then it's Carolina. They're ranked 8th. Then he gets the 31st ranked Blackhawks, and then the Islanders, who he's also, although 19th in the league, always had some good success against the Islanders.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, I think and obviously growing up a Devils fan, but I'm from Long Island. I think the first 3 hockey games I went to in my life, coincidentally, no exaggeration, all Islanders Capitals. And this just shows you how long Ovi's been doing this. I must have been 9 years old. And Ovi, I just remember him dominating the Islanders every single time I'd go to an Islanders Capitals game as a kid growing up. He has owned this franchise for a long time.
Now, if you want some irony, the Columbus Blue Jackets, there's where the irony is. Alexander's first ever goal, Ovechkin's first goal, was scored against the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Oh, wow.
Gets them on back-to-back nights, April 12th and 13th. So there, just pure irony. Now, here's the other thing, though. I wrote about it today on VSiN.com. I've got a breakdown of, every team that he faces, the odds and the goalie prices as well. But with Ovechkin right now, he is, the pace that he's on, Joe, he's going to fall short, and he'll tie the record, but not break it. He has scored a goal in every other game since the Four Nations, except he's had one stretch of back-to-back games 2 and 3 out of the break, where he scored goals on consecutive nights. That third game out of the break was his only multi-goal game since the Four Nations tournament. He had 3 against Edmonton. But he's going to have to find a way to pick up his current pace if he's going to want to break the record this year.
Wow. The fact that he would be on pace to tie it would be incredible. There'd be no doubt he's coming back next year to break it if that were to happen. And make sure you check out Jonathan's article, VSiN.com. Again, we've mentioned this numerous times. You can get it $9.99 your first 30 days to be a VSiN Pro subscriber. No better value out there in the market. Let's talk about some other teams here, Jonathan. St. Louis has a nice little win streak on the line at home against Detroit. Anything stand out to you in that contest?
I couldn't go against the Blues. Look, they've won 9 in a row. The Red Wings had 4 wins, I think, in 18 games in the month of March. Really scuffled against the good teams. Right now, as we sit here, the night before the game, there are player props that I'd be more interested in targeting in this one here. Dylan Holloway of the St. Louis Blues is turned into one of their best players, a guy that they stole from the Edmonton Oilers. Signed him to an offer sheet in the offseason. He's third on the team in scoring. Right now, you can get him to just get 1 assist tomorrow at about plus 176. Another one that I would target, they just signed a guy named Jimmy Snuggerud out of the University of Minnesota. And Snuggerud is a Hobey Baker Award finalist. And the Hobey Baker Award is hockey's version of the Heisman Trophy. So he's going to be supposed to make his debut tomorrow. You can get him right now for an anytime goal at plus 370.
Love that price. Love that play for the best player in college hockey. Isn't that something? Is hockey the only sport that does this, where these guys end up making their debut like mid-season, back end of the season? I guess in baseball it's possible, although usually those guys go through such an extensive period in the minors that it's so rare. Hockey, it's just like, all right, great job in college. Now we've got 2 weeks left. Lace up. Hey, how about one of the best teams in the league against the best home team in the league? The Kings, 27-4-4 at home, hosting Winnipeg. This one pretty evenly priced. What stands out to you here?
Well, probably very, very few goals. It's interesting. The Winnipeg Jets, the LA Kings are one of 3 teams that Winnipeg has not beaten this year. They've lost twice to LA, 4-1 and 2-1, 2-1 game in overtime. The other 2 teams that they have not beaten this year, one is the Vegas Golden Knights. I think you'd be very shocked when I tell you the other team is also from Southern California. It's the Anaheim Ducks.
Wow.
So those are the only 3 teams that Edmonton has not got a win against. Tomorrow, I would just target the under 5.5 right now. It's kind of hard for me to look at playing either side. For LA, they are fighting for that second spot in the division. So important for them. You reference their home record. They're very pedestrian. They're below 500 when it comes to being on the road. And in the case of Winnipeg, they're in a really good spot. They pretty much locked up first place, but the Dallas Stars are still breathing down their necks. So it's an important game for Winnipeg. I just think right now, the side to me is a guess. The safe play is the under in this one here.
Yeah, and how about another team that's great at home? The Vegas Knights, you just mentioned them. Winnipeg yet to beat them. They're hosting Edmonton, in which should be a great contest. What are you looking for in this one?
Well, I'm looking for a high entertaining game. For Vegas, they're coming off a very easy road trip in the sense that they played they played Minnesota, they played Nashville, they played Chicago. They outscored them. I think it was like 15-6 in the 3 games. They've won 2 of 3 versus Edmonton this year. Again, I'm going to lay off the side because for me, it's still much of a coin flip. I'm going to target Leon Draisaitl's shots on goal prop. Probably be around 3.5. Should be. I don't think it's going to be I don't think there's going to be a lot of juice on it, but that would be my target right now for the Edmonton side. With Connor McDavid out, Leon is he's the leading candidate for the NHL's MVP this year. He had a huge game on Saturday night, propelled his team to victory, scoring goals 50 and 51. He shattered, the shots on goal prop. So from the Edmonton side, I would target that. From the Vegas side, I'd probably look to Jack Eichel for a point prop. You may need to parlay that because you'll probably have some heavy juice. But their leading goal scorer, Pavel Dorofeyev, for an anytime goal, get that at about 2-1 tomorrow. Right now, that's if you want to try to play some overnight stuff, that's the way I would approach Vegas and Edmonton.
John, as always, man, sensational stuff. Really appreciate the picks, appreciate the Ovechkin breakdown, and as always, appreciate you coming on. Thanks so much.
Anytime. Take care, bud.
Make sure you follow him on Twitter at West Coast Hockey. That's HKY, for hockey. VSiN NHL analyst Jonathan Davis always does a terrific job on the network, whether it's on Cashing Out or on the variety of other shows he's always appearing on. And make sure you check out his articles, $9.99, VSiN.com, pro subscription. You know what else you'll get, folks? You'll get to know where the money is really going. Unlike other sources, our betting splits here at VSiN come straight from Circa and DraftKings, giving you insight into where the sharp action's landing. Circa takes big bets from the pros, while DraftKings provides a great broad market perspective, meaning you're getting the real action, not just public money, but what moves the lines. Get the bets versus the handle, every game, every sport, only for $9.99 your first month, VSiN.com/subscribe.